Hey, Diana.
What?
You want to hear about murder?
I love murder.
Let's read about murder.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome to the murder mystery.
That is this week's quest accepted. I actually was reading a page the other day on BuzzFeed, and it was 17 of the most horrifying Wikipedia pages, and their stories behind them and blah, blah, blah. And I thought they were kind of cool, and I just wanted to share some of them with you. So I picked one that I thought was one of my more favorite ones, and it's called the Hinterkaifeck Murders. Hinterkaifeck. Hinterkaifeck. Hinterkaifeck
Whoa there,
Murders.
you can't spell F-E-C-K. That's vulgar.
Feck. Feck you.
So I'm not going to read like the entire Wikipedia page, but if you want to check it out in a bit more detail, feel free to do so. But
On Wikipedia.
I know
.com.
Diana's a big fan of the murders, so I figured we could.
Don't tell them.
She likes to read about murders and gory stuff like that, and listen to podcasts about murder and all kinds of fun stuff. She's a dark one, this one. The Hinterkaifeck murder. Hinterkaifeck was a small farmstead situated between the Bavarian towns of Ingolstadt and Schrobenhausen,
Okay, immediately I hate the names.
Schrobenhausen.
north of Munich.
Schrodinger.
On the evening of the 31st of March, 1922, the 6 inhabitants of the farm were killed with a mattock. Anyways, the murders remain unsolved. The 6 victims were parents Andreas Gruber, 63, Cäzilia Gruber, 72, and their widowed daughter Viktoria Gabriel, 35. Victoria's children, also Cäzilia, I don't know, 7.
There's an
Is that
ooh
it?
out involved.
And Josef, 2. And the maid, Maria Baumgartner, 44.
Oh,
Baumgartner.
She axed them all, and then she axed herself with a name like that.
Yes.
Baumgartner.
Baumgartner in the garden with the mattock.
So just a background on Hinterkaifeck. Hinterkaifeck's actually not the official place name. It's just called that because it's near the town of Kaifeck, from what I understand. And Hinter in German means behind. So it's like behind
The town.
Kaifeck. So Hinterkaifeck isn't actually like the town name or the people's name. It's just what they call it. On April 4th, 1922, after none of the inhabitants of Hinterkaifeck had been seen for some time, 3 men went to the property. Upon investigation, they found the bodies of Andreas, Cäzilia, I hope I'm saying that right, Viktoria,
Probably
Cäzilia,
not.
murdered, and they were all murdered in the barn. Those were murdered in the barn.
In the barn.
Okay. Shortly after, they found the chambermaid, Maria, and the youngest family member, Victoria's son, Josef, murdered in the home. To this day, the murder is unsolved.
So isn't the chamber back in old times the poop house? Is she the poop maid?
I don't know.
Is that why she's
Well,
the Baumgartner? She's
Yes,
the poop
because
maid?
they pooped in the chamber pot, and then maybe your chambermaid emptied your chamber pot from your chamber. Because you pooped in your bedroom.
Right.
In pot.
Because there was no running water.
Keep it under your bed. Pull it out, take a deuce, put it back.
And that's why she's the bum farmer.
When did she become a farmer?
Strange things began to occur in and around Hinterkaifeck sometime before the attack. 6 months before the attack, the family maid quit, claiming she heard strange sounds and that she believed the house to be haunted.
The bum farmer?
Andreas Gruber found a strange newspaper from Munich on the property in March of 1922, Munich. He could not remember buying it, and thus Gruber initially believed that the postman had lost the newspaper.
That fucker.
So a mysterious newspaper appears.
Okay, wait. The maid that quit, is it Baumgartner?
She's not named.
I think it's probably the other one then.
Okay.
Yeah, she's
So
not
old
named.
maid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
I
lost the
thought maybe
newspaper.
Baumgartner quit and then came back and hacked them all.
However, he did not
And then
lose.
herself.
He did not lose the newspaper because no one in the vicinity subscribed to that newspaper. So just a newspaper randomly appears.
I mean, if we were a newspaper, you should subscribe to us.
Yes, just subscribe.
If you subscribe, we will send you our newspaper if we ever make one.
And we will murder you.
Here we go. Just days before the murders,
Not with a mattock.
Gruber told neighbors he discovered tracks. Just days before the murders, Gruber told neighbors he discovered tracks in the fresh snow that led from the forest to his home. While this alone was not unsettling, it was the fact that the tracks did not lead away from the house again that unnerved him. Around the same time, one of the family's house keys went missing. The The family also repeatedly observed a man with a mustache.
So what I'm gathering is it's hipster Bigfoot.
Okay, so the man with the mustache walked to the house, stole the key, and then walked backwards through his own footprints.
It's
I'm
hipster Bigfoot.
kind of confused because it just mentions randomly the man with the mustache, and that's about it. But yeah, it was probably the guy with the mustache, I guess. Unless maybe it was like around town they saw him.
Wait, did the footsteps have a mustache?
Anyways, so during the night, they heard footsteps in the attic, but Andreas found no one when he searched the building. Although he told several people about these alleged observations, he refused to accept help, and the details went unreported to the police. According to a school friend of the 7-year-old Cäzilia, the young girl reported that her mother Viktoria had fled the farm the night before the act after a violent quarrel, and only hours later had been found in the forest.
Alive or dead?
I think she was alive.
I think he was dead.
We'll find out. 33 years later, the school friend's story had changed, and she claimed that not Viktoria, but her mother had fled. So I think she just had a fight and ran away and then came back. Anyways, here we go. That night of March 31st to the morning of April 1st.
The man with the mustache
1922.
was sharpening his mattock.
On the afternoon of March 31st, a Friday, the new maid, Maria Baumgartner, arrived at the farm. Her sister had escorted her there and left the farm after a short stay, and she was most likely the last person to see the inhabitants alive. A few hours later, the 6 inhabitants of Hinterkaifeck would be dead.
Because she killed them.
It is impossible to reconstruct the exact events of the evening without some speculation, but some details are clear after the investigation. It appears that in the late evening, Viktoria, her 7-year-old daughter, and her parents, Andreas and Cäzilia. Okay, so Viktoria, the daughter and her parents. There you go. The daughter and her parents were lured to the family barn through the stable, where they were murdered, one at a time. The perpetrator...
Victoria, her daughter, and her parents.
No, Viktoria is the daughter. It's just saying Viktoria, 7-year-old daughter, and her parents,
Victoria,
Andreas and
her
Cäzilia.
7-year-old daughter, and her parents.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Reading.
There's 4 of them. Well, I'm trying to make sense of it while I'm going, so... I'm not reading it with them. Yeah, there are 2 of them. That's also why it's confusing. Anyways, the perpetrator or perpetrators used a mattock belonging to the family farm and killed the family with blows to the head. So, pickaxe to the head. It is unclear if the family went to the barn as part of a regular routine or if something out of the ordinary caused them to visit this part of the estate. Later experiments proved, however, that screams from the barn could not be heard in most of the rest of the estate. So you're in the barn, you're screaming, no one can hear you. It's just like space.
Note to self, if you don't subscribe, you're going to go out to the barn.
Right.
And space.
The perpetrator moved from the barn through the stable into the living quarters where, with the same murder weapon, he killed the maid Maria in her bedchamber. Presumably, he killed young Josef last as the 2-year-old boy slept in his bassinet in his mother's bedroom.
What kind of person acts as a baby?
One that's pretty messed up.
Hipster Bigfoot.
Who walks backwards?
Mm-hmm.
Discovery.
Backfoot Bigfoot.
Now we discover them.
Did you just say Dickfoot?
4 days passed between the murders and the discovery of the bodies. On April 1st, coffee sellers Hans and Edward Schwarowski arrived in Hinterkaifeck to place an order. When no one responded to the knocks on the door and the window, they walked around the yard but found no one. They only noticed that the gate to the machine house was open before they decided to leave. Cäzilia was absent without excuse for the next few days of school, and the family failed to show up for Sunday worship. On Monday, April 3rd, the postman, Josef Mayer, was delivering the mail at Hinterkaifeck when he noticed that Saturday's mail was still where he had left it, and that no one had been in the yard, probably from the snow. Assembler, I guess that's a job, assembler.
He assembles.
I don't know what that is, look it
He
up.
comes to your house and assembles.
Assembler Albert Hoffner went to Hinterkaifeck on the 4th of April.
To repair the engine of the food chopper.
Well, you
He's
buy
going to
something.
assemble it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you buy something from IKEA. He's the assembler. That's his job.
He went there on April 4th to repair the engine of the food chopper.
Oh, God.
He stated that he had not seen any of the family and heard nothing but the sounds of the animals, noting the barking dog.
What if the food chopper had been working when they were murdered?
I don't know. After waiting for an hour, he decided to start his repair, which he completed in roughly 4.5 hours. After the repair, he noticed that the barn door was open, but could not say for certain whether it had been open when he got there or not. He peeked in the barn but did not go inside.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay.
So this dude just goes over there and sees nobody, and he's like, oh, well, don't know where they are. I'm gonna go fix the engine. Dur, 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 dur.
It was a different time. If you're scheduled to do something, you had access to the house, you just go do it. You just assume they were out working in the fields or something. It's not like you had a cell phone to call them.
Yeah, those 2 and 7-year-olds, man, they're never running around the house.
Well, they're probably supposed to be in school at the time. Or
weird.
the 7-year-old. The 2-year-old was probably with mom.
I don't like it.
In Graubern, he met the daughters of the village guide, Lorenz Schlittenbauer, and told them that the repairs in Hinterkaifeck were done. Hoffner also told George Gregor, the mayor of Wangen, I don't know, some of these names are kind of weird, about the ghostly emptiness of Hinterkaifeck. Schlittenbauer then sent his 2 sons, Johann and Josef, to Hinterkaifeck to see if they could make contact with the family. When they reported that they did not see anyone, Schlittenbauer, every time I say Schlittenbauer, I spit a little bit.
You do.
I think that's part of his name.
Schlittenbauer headed to the farm the same day with Michael Pohl and Jacob Sigel, at which time they discovered the mostly concealed bodies in the barn and home. They found the dead bodies, guys.
Corpses everywhere.
Alright, so now we get to the investigation. Inspector George Reingruber and his colleagues from the Munich Police Department investigated the killings. More than 100 suspects have been questioned throughout the years, with the most recent questioning taking place in 1986.
That's like basically yesterday.
That's the year I was born, and that was like, what, 60 years after that happened? I don't know, I want to go back and look. That was like 1920 something.
You're old.
None of the questioning ever yielded any conclusive results. The day after the discovery of the bodies, court physician Johann Baptist Ammuller performed the autopsies in the barn.
Sanitary.
It was established that a mattock was the most likely murder weapon.
He probably established that because, like, the mattock was, like, still sitting in somebody's head.
There was
like,
a
just
bloody mattock sticking out of his skull, and he was like,
Yeah, he's like,
I think these people were hit with this.
I think the mattock did it. I think that's what killed him.
Well, let me go on and say, though, the weapon itself was not at the scene.
Oh, I guess
Yeah.
So do you think he stuck his finger in the hole to feel the mattock shape?
Well, it's about to get a little bit gruesome here, guys, so let's keep the joking down just a touch because it's about to get real gross.
Fingering the skull
You ready?
holes.
Here we go. Evidence showed that the younger Cäzilia had been alive for several hours after the assault. So she got her shit jacked up and she was still alive.
Ugh.
And she had torn her hair out in tufts while lying in the straw next to the bodies of her grandparents and her mother. The skulls of the corpses were sent to Munich, where clairvoyants examined them. Those are psychic people. To no avail.
Who would have thought?
The heads were later lost, possibly being destroyed in the Allied bombings of World War II. Thanks, Obama. God.
Fucking World War II destroying the heads.
The police first suspected the motive to be robbery, and they interrogated traveling craftsmen, vagrants, and several inhabitants from the surrounding villages. When a large amount of money was found inside the house, they abandoned this theory. It was clear that the perpetrators remained at the farm for several days. Someone had fed the cattle, eaten the entire supply of bread from the kitchen, and had recently cut meat from the pantry. Neighbors also reported smoke coming from the chimney all weekend. The perpetrator would have easily found the money if robbery had been the intention, but as it was, the money remained untouched. With no clear motive to be gleaned from the crime scene, the police began to formulate a list of suspects.
It was the old maid.
Now, there's like a lot of suspects, and each suspect has like 3 paragraphs to it, so I'm not going to really go too much detail about it, but we'll just go over them really quickly. The first suspect is Karl Gabriel, the husband of Viktoria Gabriel. Okay? So, he had reportedly been killed during the First World War. However, his body had never been recovered, and after the murders, people began to speculate if he had indeed actually died in the war. Viktoria gave birth to Josef illegitimately in her husband's absence.
Because it was the maids.
2-year-old Josef, no, it gets worse. 2-year-old Josef was rumored to be the son of Victoria and her father Andreas, who had an incestuous relationship that was documented in court and known in the village.
So her son was her brother?
Yes, son and brother at the same time. So some theorize that Karl came
Easier to buy
back
birthday
and
cards
got revenge on the family that
Mm.
way. So
That's pretty good reasoning to hack up a family.
there's also a paragraph about how at the end of the World War, war captives were released, and one of them could have been him. The next suspect is Lorenz Schlittenbauer.
Oh, shit.
Schlittenbauer again.
Her.
And shortly after the death of his first wife, he carried on a relationship with Viktoria Gabriel.
That slut.
It's also possible that he had fathered Josef,
Is he also possibly
as
her
his
father?
initials appeared on the boy's birth certificate. Perhaps he had killed the family because Victoria had come after him for alimony. Ah, okay. Anyways, Schlittenbauer and his friends had to break when they came. So he was one of the people that investigated. So they broke the gate, blah blah blah, and after finding the 4 bodies in the barn, his 2 companions left the stable shocked, while Schlittenbauer went alone into the house, which he seemed to know very well. As he went around, he said he was looking for his son. When he entered the house, the other men clearly heard him unlock the front door with a key.
Well, if he was boinking somebody who lived there, he might have a key.
And
Or he
that
could've
was
stolen the
also, it could have been the key that was stolen.
Does he have a mustache?
Schlittenbauer also disturbed the bodies at the scene, ruining the initial investigation, but he claimed he had done it because he was looking for his son, the illegitimate Josef.
Who knows?
Before his death in 1941, Schlittenbauer conducted and won several civil claims for slander against people that called him the murderer of Hinterkaifeck. The next people are the brothers Gump.
Brother of Gump.
In April 9th, 1922, the
A
lead
shrimp boat captain.
investigator wanted to question Adolf Gump. So basically, this guy, one of the Gump brothers, was rumored to be in a relationship with Victoria,
Of course.
and with 3 others, Adolf Gump had participated in the murder of 9 peasants in Cäzilia. Gruber, who was the detective inspector, could not rule Adolf Gump's potential involvement in the murders and asked him to get an alibi.
Do we like peasants?
Yes, sure.
Okay. So it's bad that he killed 9 peasants.
Continuing on, in 1951, after none of that really panned out, the sister of the Gumps, Crescentia Mayer, claimed on her deathbed that her brothers Adolf and Anton had in fact committed the murders. As a result, Anton was remanded? I don't think I've heard that word before. Was remanded to police custody.
I see that word 10 times a day at
But
work.
Adolf had already died in 1944. However, Anton was dismissed again in 1954, and the case against him was discontinued because it could not be proven to participate in the crime. There's only a few more people here. The brothers Karl and Andreas S. from Saddleburg are potential suspects. This is some random woman who says that her sons were the 2 murderers of Hinterkaifeck. The mother said Andreas regretted that he lost his penknife in the course of the conversation.
But they found a knife in the
But
yard.
in fact, when the farm was demolished in 1923, a pocket knife was found that could not be clearly assigned to anyone. However, the knife could have easily belonged to one of the murder victims as well. But there's a bunch of other people here too. I'll just skip it because, it gets to the point where it's like, we don't know who did it. Maybe it was this guy. Maybe it was that guy.
It was
So I don't know. The result of the investigation, despite repeated arrests, no murder has ever been found and files were closed in 1955. Nevertheless, the last interrogations took place in 1986, like we mentioned.
Okay.
And that's a long word. Criminal Hauptkommissar Konrad Müller. Can you put Criminal Hauptkommissar on the screen, Diana? That's the word. Konrad Müller, still determined today, retired. So he's still trying to solve the crime. In 2007, the students of that's another word, you can just throw that right up there.
Police Academy.
Police Academy.
So, that's probably sheriff, and that's police academy.
In Fürstenfeldbruck, examined the case using modern criminal investigation techniques. They included that it was impossible to definitively solve the crime after so much time had passed. Big shocker.
Well, maybe if you tested for DNA.
Right. So as of the end, the dead
DNA back then?
No.
The dead,
Not really. That's my point.
The dead family are without their skulls, buried in the cemetery of Weidhofen, and a memorial stone was erected at the grave. The skulls of the dead were last kept in a justice building in Augsburg and likely were destroyed in a bomb attack during the Second World War. The farm was also demolished in 1923. So basically everything about this whole murder has been completely destroyed. So there's no way you can find out who actually did this murder. But
Yeah, pictures.
there's all kinds. I don't know. There might be pictures, but we can't really look at
I
them right
mean,
now.
picture it didn't happen.
There's
So
the Hinterkaifeck.
Schlittenbauer.
5 days after the attack.
back before we were civilized, in order to examine a skull, you had to remove it from the body so that you could look at the whole thing.
You think we're civilized now?
We leave the head on,
Indeed.
apply directly to the forehead.
It was Schlittenbauer. Schlittenbauer seemed of all the other ones, everybody else was like, "Wait, we think he could do it because he was a suspect." But Schlittenbauer is like, "Yeah, no, this is reasons why he would have, that he has things that he could have." I don't know. He had a key.
It's just interesting.
His name.
The only thing that's weird is that, just for months, there could have been someone living in their attic. And that's what's creepy to me, is like, we all have attics. So what are the chances that someone can just crawl in your window, climb up in your attic, and then they just live in your attic for 6 months, and then randomly decide to just,
Murder
jump
anybody.
down and murder you, and then live in your house for like 4 days?
Everybody watching this, go check your attic.
With a gun.
And your crawl space, if you have one of those, because that'd be easier to hide in.
Crawl space too. Yes. All right, guys. Well, that was story time. I don't know if you liked this video. If you watched to the end, then obviously you did, and that's awesome. So if you would like us to do something similar like this, please let me know. You can just look Wikipedia, Hinterkaifeck Murders, or maybe we can stick the link in the description box so you can read about it yourself. I don't know. But if you want to hear more stories, just go ahead and comment below, give this video a like, and maybe we'll do some more story times for you. And other than that, make sure you subscribe to our channel, or we're going to come to your house and live in your attic for 6 days.
Just like Schlittenbauer.
Then we're getting stabby.
No, we won't get stabbed. We're just going to live in your attic and eat all your damn food.
We're getting mattocky.
You're going to spend so much money on food, it's ridiculous.
You're going to spend so much food that you're going to get money.
Yeah, not from us, because we're eating your food.
Yeah, and for money.
And we're just going to use all your toilet paper.
We're not going to use it, we're just going to unroll
Yeah.
it all.
Because we're pooping in your rafters.
That's not sanitary, and that's how you get maggots and other things.
That's how you
in
get
your walls.
mattocked.
That's how you get mold. That's how you get aspergillus. Aspergillus mold up in your shiz. And we'll catch you next time.
On another mattock accepted.
Murder accepted.
Quest accepted.